Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, November 5. Celtic outcast may earn Argentina call-up. Report by Mark Walker. Forgotten on loan Celtic fullback Alexandro Bernabé admits it would be a dream if he earned a stunning first call-up for World Cup holders Argentina. The left-back has resurrected his career on loan at Brazilian club Internacional after being frozen out at Parkhead. He has been praised for being one of the best defenders in their country and has helped the club reach 5th place in their Serie A league. It was even reported in South America last week that Celtic were asking for a fee of £8 million to make the loan move permanent in January. He has been tipped in his homeland for a surprise call-up to the world champions squad for their World Cup doubleheader against Paraguay and Peru this month. Bernabé, who has played for Argentina under-23s previously, is hoping he's done enough to impress boss Lionel Scaloni, and said, "We are an incredible team, World Cup holders and Copa America champions, so of course I know it will be incredibly difficult for me to be called up for the squad. But nobody tells me that I cannot aim for that. I certainly hope with my recent form that it will be my turn soon. It is a dream that I have, and I am going to work as hard as possible for myself. If it happens, it happens. I think that in Brazil and Argentina there are very good fullbacks. It's said that Brazil is a country of fullbacks, so being praised is important for me. Here in Brazil, I am playing every 3 days or so, and that's a real challenge and it is very demanding, but I am very happy with my form." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, November 5. Celtic players told they will need their A game against Leipzig. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Brendan Rodgers has told his Celtic players they will all need to bring their A game if they want to record a victory over RB Leipzig at Parkhead tonight and boost their chances of reaching the Champions League knockout rounds. The Scottish champions, having beaten Feyenoord in their final group game last season and Slovan Bratislava in their opening league phase match this term, are bidding to make it a hat-trick of home victories in Europe's elite club competition. Rodgers oversaw a 2-1 triumph over Leipzig during his first spell in charge in the East End of Glasgow back in 2018. Goals from Kieran Tierney and Odsonne Redwood secured a vital Europa League result. The Northern Irishman ensured his side bounced back from a 7-1 humiliation they suffered at the hands of Borussia Dortmund in Germany a fortnight ago, with a goalless draw against Atalanta in Italy. However, he knows from personal experience that there can be no margin for error in any department, up front, in midfield, or at the back, against Marco Rose's high-flying Bundesliga team, if they want to prevail and increase their chances of finishing in the top 24 in the league phase. Said Rodgers, to win a game at this level, you have to bring your A game to it. I thought that night against Leipzig we were excellent, the intensity of our game, the pressure we had in the game. Of course you have to ride your luck at times as well. That's the level. But no, I thought our intensity, our pressing, our football was very good on that evening. At this level, you have to be near perfect to get a big result. But I think what is important is to have a good mood. I think the mood is great at the moment. And that's why I give gratitude to the supporters after the Dortmund game. Because when we walked over at the end, which was on the back end of a tough evening, they stayed with the team. They were with the team. They'd seen what we've been doing up until that point. We hope to prove that this was just a night where we just weren't at our best and we got heavily punished for it. But we've shown that we can learn. Then, like you say, getting results and getting results here can build that mindset again. Feyenoord and Bratislava were two really good games. The Bratislava one helped to get us off to a really good start in the competition. Now we play against a really, really top team on the back end of a good result and a fantastic result. Let's see if we can keep this mood going and keep that feeling going. Rodgers is relishing being involved against the continent's elite managers just as much as his charges are enjoying pitting themselves against some of the best players on the planet, and is looking forward to his tactical battle with Rose. And he continued, we are playing against a lot of teams that are superior to us and from superior leagues. That challenge in itself is absolutely great, trying to find ways of which to gain the results that can bring you to your end point. It's an amazing competition to be involved in. You have some games where you have to take your medicine, but I'm pretty sure it's all learning. We learn, we hope to be better, improve, and certainly from a manager's perspective, it's a really exciting level to be involved in. I'm really excited by it because we've got ourselves, after 3 games, into a really good position. 2 really tough games, a fantastic performance here, and now we've got another opportunity to show that we can pick up a result against a top team. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, November 5. McCoist's verdict on Gerrard Rangers return. Report by David Irvin. Ali McCoist has stated Steven Gerrard would be welcome back as Rangers manager in the future. McCoist was quizzed on the reception the Liverpool legend would receive if he returned to Rangers after his exit for Aston Villa in 2021. On TalkSport, host Jeff Stelling posed the question on whether Gerrard would be well received should he be a candidate at Ibrox if the club hierarchy wished to change manager. For McCoist, current Al Ettifaq manager Gerrard would be welcomed back by Rangers supporters, but the pundit offered an Ibrox insight that issues run far deeper than in the dugout. Citing the vacancies in the chairman and CEO roles, McCoist warned his former club must address those issues, as he admitted it works its way down if things are not right at the top. He would be welcomed back. He won the title in his time at Rangers. But I have to say, the problems at Rangers go far greater than the manager at this moment, and a lot deeper. I think they need to get things sorted at the top level before anything else. It works its way down if things are not right at the top. No full-time chairman, director of football, or chief executive. There is none of that happening at this moment, and that has to happen. I don't care what anyone says. It must have an effect on the pitch if things are not good off it. The problems at Rangers go far greater than the manager at this moment, and a lot deeper. I think they need to get things sorted at that top level before anything else. It works its way down. So in answer to your question, would he be welcomed back? I think he would. But he clearly has his work cut out over in Saudi at this moment. Report by David Irwin. Evening Times Sport, November 5. Nick Roger reports on slim pickings as Scottish women's golf tries to play catch-up. It's funny how people ask you about the general health of your golf in the same kind of compassionate and concerned way they would inquire about, say, Auntie Doreen and her hiatus hernia. Someone posed such a question to me recently, about my golf, that is, not Doreen's abdominal affliction, and I responded by saying it was floating somewhere between a complete farce and a total fiasco. In a media outing not so long ago, we were provided with caddies. Now, while I appreciate the diligence, nous, pearls of wisdom, and unwavering patience of these valuable golfing companions, I've never been keen on actually having one. For a start, it's just another set of eyes peering on and scrutinising the unfolding incompetence. And secondly, they'll ask outrageously specific golfy things like, how far do you hit your 7-iron, as we weigh up yet another salvage operation. Given that I operate in vague vicinities rather than precise yardages, you'd probably get a more definitive answer from a ruddy goose if you asked it about the Riemann hypothesis. In the ceaseless quest for improvement, I'd pondered getting a lesson, but I tend to find that the inevitable result of any tutorial from a qualified professional is the instant elimination of the one critical unconscious motion that sometimes allows me to compensate for all my many other technical faults, quirks, and absurdities. It's onwards and sideways, and perhaps backwards. At least we don't have to earn a living from playing this flabbergasting game. For the Scottish women on the Ladies European Tour, meanwhile, the 2024 campaign has been a bit of a sere fecht as the circuit heads to its final event of the year in Spain later this month. There were only a couple of full card holders anyway, and if you have a trawl through the order of merit, you will be scrolling down for a while before you reach a saltire. Go on, keep going, no, down a bit more, just a wee bit more. Ah, there we are. Kylie Henry, a double winner on the tour back in 2014. is the very best of the very small bunch at 131st, while Laura Beveridge is languishing in 140th spot. They are destined to return to the grim rigmarole of the qualifying school. There won't be any tartan graduates from the second tier Ladies European Tour Access Series to bolster numbers either, with Hannah McCook leading the way at number 49, but well out of the promotion mix. Louise Duncan, who underlined her promise by finishing 10th as an amateur among the world's best in the 2021 AIG Women's Open, is back in 51st place as she continues to adapt to the rigours of professional life, while Solheim Cup player Gemma Dryborough is well established across the pond on the LPGA Tour. The lack of depth, not for the first time, is something of a concern. Yes, there are some terrific homegrown talents in the unpaid scene, like Curtis Cup duo Hannah Darling and Lorna McClymont, but as we all know, amateur dramatics are no guarantee of sustained success on the professional stage. We were spoiled, of course, by Katrina Matthews' trailblazing triumphs and wonderful longevity, yet that same preeminence has only highlighted the toils of the next generation. If people knew what more could be done, I think it would be being done, said Matthew, when asked back in the summer if there had been enough done to build on her great legacy. Golf's various custodians continue to make a big push on the female front, with the kind of recruitment drive that could be accompanied by a finger-pointing Kitchener poster. The High Command at Scottish Golf, for instance, have set a target of increasing the number of female members at domestic clubs by 15% come 2027. In an evolving, challenging industry, it is an ambitious plan. Compared to the rest of Europe, Scotland's female membership rates have always been embarrassingly low. A former chief executive of the Ladies European Tour once described the figures as shocking and made the cradle of the game resemble a developing country. There is plenty of scope for, development. The huge female market has considerable potential if it can be tapped into. Speak to any club professional who is trying to boost the women's game in their own backyard, and they'll tell you that. They'll also tell you that keeping young girls interested in golf ain't easy. Very rarely does a girl who has not got a family member here stick at it, suggested the Portlethen head pro David Pocock, who has helped nurture a flourishing female section at the Aberdeenshire club over the last couple of years. That's why the family aspect is so important for golf going forward. For years, many clubs in Scotland treated women with downright hostility, ignoring half the population was never going to be a sound development plan. In recent years, of course, concerted efforts have been made to make golf more attractive to the good ladies of all ages. There's still a lot of catching up to do though. As long as young girls are coming into the game at the grassroots, then there's always hope of some green shoots and a healthier future at all levels. Now, how's Doreen and that hiatus hernia? Asks Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, November 5. Kevin Van Veen, St Mirren contract ripped up. Report by David Irvin. Kevin Van Veen's St Mirren contract has reportedly been ripped up. The 33-year-old forward appeared at Hamilton Sheriff Court last week, facing allegations of domestic abuse, with a club investigation launched and the player unavailable for the match against Ross County last Sunday. A club statement read, "St Mirren Football Club is aware of a court appearance and ongoing criminal investigation into Kevin Van Veen. The club will conduct its own investigation into this matter, and Kevin will not be available. We will make no further comment during this process." Van Veen's case was adjourned until November 28, but it has now been reported by the Scottish Sun that the player will depart the Paisley club under a clause in his loan deal from Groningen. St Mirren Chiefs are thought to have made the decision to end the loan deal and for him to return to the Dutch side. The Paisley club held the option to end Van Veen's time in Paisley should he make less than 10 appearances. So far, the Dutchman has only played 5 times for St Mirren this season. Manager Stephen Robinson admitted last week, "It has been challenging on and off the pitch, but you face these challenges and you have to deal with them. That's what I am paid to do. Worry about the football, pick the best team I can, and get results." Evening Times Sport, November 6. Celtic can shock Champions League. Report by James McLaughlin. Celtic's stunning 3-1 victory over RB Leipzig was good enough, but now it has emerged they are within touching distance of some incredible Champions League milestones. The Hoops have picked up 7 points from a possible 12 during their opening 4 games after beating the Germans, Slovan Bratislava, and drawing in Bergamo with Atalanta. There are 32 teams in total playing in the group stages, with 8 dropping out after the first 8 games. Teams finishing between 9th and 24th go into a play-off to make the last 16, while the top 8 instantly qualify for that section. Brendan Rodgers' team only needs 3 points from their next 4 games to reach the play-off, a situation that would have been seen as a major result before a ball was kicked. But the real prize would be to qualify with the big guns in the top 8. And while things could change based on results, it is likely that another 3 wins would be enough to guarantee that. Looking at the remaining games at home to Club Brugge and Young Boys, and away games against Dinamo Zagreb and Aston Villa, there is little for Celtic to fear. And with Nicholas Kuhn and company playing with real attacking verve, Rodgers and his men will surely think they can make an even bigger impact in the games ahead. Meanwhile, those exploits by Celtic can bring a huge boost to Scottish football. Greece, Denmark and Switzerland all dropped below our game after Brendan Rodgers' men earned 0.4 points with a Champions League win. And that is especially important, for it helps catapult Scottish football 3 places in the coefficient table, which decides how many of our teams enter European competition. It is an especially important moment, as Scotland was in 16th place, and only the top 15 nations receive 2 places in Europe's most lucrative football competition. Of course, there is plenty of football to be played, and the ball is now in Rangers' court as they get set to face Olympiacos in Greece tomorrow night. Hearts will also have a big say as they look to continue their excellent start to the Conference League. It's one to watch as the season progresses, with plenty of scope for the remaining three sides to perform well enough that Norway and Austria's positions in 11th and 12th respectively could be under threat. Evening Times Sport, November 6. Celtic have discovered they can compete in Champions League. Brendan Rodgers feels Celtic have discovered they can compete in the Champions League as he savoured his best night in the competition with the Hoops. Celtic came from behind to beat RB Leipzig 3-1, thanks to the outstanding Nicholas Kuhn's double and a well-deserved goal from Rio Hatate. The Scottish champions have now bounced back from their 7-1 thrashing by Borussia Dortmund by holding Atalanta in Italy and sweeping to victory against a side sitting second in the Bundesliga. Rodgers said, "It gives a real nice confidence for the team. I think we have discovered in the last two games that we can be really competitive. If you had said after the Dortmund game that we would have got 4 points from Atalanta and Red Bull Leipzig, probably not too many people would have said we would have done that. But I think we have discovered that we can play at this level, so it's a great next step. To have 7 points after 4 games, especially with the level of performance that we have played, gives us great encouragement. It means in the next 4 games, we can have a real confidence to go and make the play-off stage, but it's still such a long way to go." Rodgers agreed it was his best night with Celtic in Europe, pointing out that Leipzig have only conceded 5 goals in 9 Bundesliga matches. In terms of the level of opponent, I would say that actually it was not just the result, but the performance, he said. We played the game with a great charisma and confidence and showed the courage in our pressing. We have had some really good results, but that definitely would be the best one. Celtic have now played their 3 hardest games in the league phase on paper and sit above the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, AC Milan and Paris Saint-Germain after winning 3 consecutive home games in the Champions League for the first time since 2007. When asked if they could even target a potential top 8 place, Rodgers said, "No, we have to stay humble in our world. We cannot get too far ahead of ourselves. We played so well, we're in a really good place, and we now just focus on our next game against Kilmarnock. Obviously when Club Brugge comes, we will look to keep adding to our points and see where it takes us at the end of January." Kuhn looked unplayable at times and scored a wonderful equaliser as he curled in off the post from 20 yards, but Rodgers was keen to stress the German winger can still improve, and said, "He's still young, so he still has more to go. I thought his pressing could have been better. That was the thing I said to him. He's obviously got goal contribution efficiency, but he's just learning and developing all the time. We've seen his talent. Bringing him to here was about making more goal contributions, being more robust and sustaining playing. But I thought he was really exciting when we had the ball. And obviously the 2 goals were great for him, having worked at Red Bull Leipzig before as a young player." Evening Times Sport, November 6. No name Kuhn in stunning display. Report by Lana Mackay. A German media outlet has labelled Niklas Kühn a German no-name professional after the winger stunned his former club RB Leipzig with an outstanding Champions League display last night. Celtic came from behind to secure a thrilling 3-1 home win on matchday 4, with Kühn bagging a quick-fire double at the end of the first half and earning a Player of the Match award for his efforts. The 24-year-old spent part of his youth career in Leipzig's academy before spells at Ajax and Bayern Munich. Brendan Rodgers spent £3 million to bring the German-born winger to Celtic from Rapid Vienna in January 2024 on a 5.5-year deal. Following last night's inspired performance against his former side, Kühn has sent shockwaves throughout his homeland. German sports outlet Bild shared the headline, "German no-name professional embarrasses Leipzig." Last night's statement victory was Celtic's second of their Champions League campaign, following a 5-1 win over Slovan Bratislava on matchday 1. The Hoops also earned an important point against Atalanta after a goalless draw in Bergamo in the wake of a tough 7-1 away defeat to Dortmund. Report by Lana Mackay. Evening Times Sport, November 6. Rangers retro kit leaked. Report by Ewan Payton. A special Rangers kit to commemorate 125 years of Ibrox Stadium has been leaked online. Images have emerged on social media showing off the new look jersey with the multiple strips hanging on a clothes rail, and the early feedback suggests that fans love the retro design. In an alternative take on the Scottish Premiership club's usual home kit, the 125th Ibrox anniversary jersey has a classic look with only blue and white colours used. The main body of the top is a solid royal blue colour with white trims around the sleeves and neck, with a small blue pinstripe also included in these features. The Castor logo and main shirt sponsor Unibet are also in white along with the club's badge. Focusing on the latter, the badge is the one significant difference between this kit and Rangers' current 24-25 jerseys. It has the letters RFC slickly placed inside a crest with a football on top and the words Rangers Football Club around the outside of it. To add to its appeal, underneath it marks the anniversary with the wording Ibrox Stadium 1899-2024. The original poster of the leaked image on social media site X wrote, "If this is legit, then it will be the nicest kit we've released in years. The badge makes it a 10 out of 10. Another replied saying, "Unbelievable," while another online user used a GIF which stated, "Oh, I like this." The club has yet to officially confirm any announcement over the anniversary kit. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, November 7. Kyogo finally recalled by Japan. Report by David Irvin. Kyogo Furuhashi has finally been recalled to the Japan national team. The 29-year-old Celtic striker will link up with the Samurai Blue for their upcoming matches against China and Indonesia. Daisen Maeda and Ryo Hatate have been regular squad members for the national team in recent history, but Kyogo has missed out. However, he has now been included for the World Cup qualifiers later this month, alongside his club teammates. Kyogo's call-up comes 13 months after his last outing for his country, when he netted against Tunisia. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, November 7. Pyro Task Force look at extending reach of football banning orders. Report by Matthew Lindsay. The Scottish Government is considering extending the reach of football banning orders in a bid to combat a concerning increase in the illegal use of pyrotechnics at matches by supporters. The Criminal Law Consolidation Scotland Act 1995 made it a criminal offence for anyone to be in possession of a pyrotechnic article entering or in attendance at a sporting event in this country. MSPs at Holyrood also passed the Fireworks and Pyrotechnic Articles Scotland Act 2022, which enables police officers to search anyone they believe may be carrying pyrotechnic devices outside of a ground without warrant. And that came into force last summer. However, games involving Scottish clubs at home and abroad this season have once again been blighted by the ultra element among their fan bases, setting off flares, strobes, smoke bombs, and even firing rockets in the stands. Celtic were fined €20,000 and given a suspended one-match away fan ban by UEFA last month for their supporters' use of pyro at their Champions League phase match against Borussia Dortmund in Germany. Their city rivals Rangers were also fined €19,000 and €13,750 by European football's governing body for their fans' use of fireworks at their Europa League games against Malmo away and Lyon at home. That punishment prompted the Ibrox Club's interim chairman John Gilligan to issue a public appeal. In a statement which was posted on Rangers' official website and social media channels, Gilligan said, "My message is the use of pyrotechnics must stop, and stop now, at all of our matches, home and away." Not only could the repercussions become ever larger for the club, many supporters have difficulty coping with the effects of pyrotechnics, whether that be the smoke or loud bangs they produce. It is desperately unfair for any Rangers supporter to come to a match and be affected in such a manner. However, Rangers and Motherwell fans staged coordinated displays before their Premier Sports Cup semi-final at Hampden on Sunday, and kick-off in a game which was televised live by the sponsor was delayed for several minutes due to poor visibility inside the ground. The meeting between Celtic and Aberdeen at the National Stadium the previous evening also got underway 15 minutes later than scheduled for the same reason, after supporters of the Parkhead club lit flares. Serious injuries and even fatalities have occurred at football matches in the past due to the use of fireworks, and last season a Celtic fan had his head set on fire and a young Dundee fan was scarred for life. A KCT Menin player in a lower league match in Belgium last month lost the index finger on his right hand and needed to have his thumb and middle finger partially amputated after he picked up a Cobra 6 firecracker, a device with the power of a hand grenade, which had been thrown onto the pitch. There were talks between representatives of the SFA, SPFL, Scottish Government, Police Scotland, Football Safety Officers Association Scotland, and PFA Scotland last November about how to tackle the alarming problem. That meeting took place after a Premiership game between Dundee and Rangers at Dens Park was delayed for 15 minutes after fire alarms in the Bob Shankly stand were set off by a mass flare display. It has now emerged that a working party is examining extending the reach of football banning orders, civil orders which are imposed on anyone who is convicted of a football-related offence, as part of a new action plan to combat illegal pyrotechnic use. A Scottish Government spokesperson said, "Pyrotechnics can be lethal, and it is a criminal offence to take or attempt to take them into football stadiums. An expert group is considering whether extending the reach of football banning orders would be a further deterrent to this dangerous behaviour, and we expect them to provide an update next year." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, November 7. Scots golf clubs facing economic bunkers. Report by Christy Dorsey. The gap between the haves and the have-nots in Scottish golf is getting wider, according to industry experts, with pressure growing on middle-tier clubs in places such as Glasgow, while proprietary destinations such as Trump International, Cabo Highlands and Machrihanish are pouring hundreds of millions into new courses and facilities catering primarily to well-heeled North American tourists. Many local member clubs are under intensifying pressure from rising costs. Increases in the minimum wage and employers' national insurance contributions are at the forefront, backed by a phalanx of higher prices for everything from machinery and fuel to food and utilities. Along with the proprietary courses, those with no members that offer a high-end pay-and-play experience, there is also a financially fortunate group of trophy course golf clubs, such as the open rota venues, where visitors happily pay premium prices and virtually every tee time is booked. However, it is estimated there are more than 550 golf clubs in Scotland, most of which are far adrift of the wealth of the elite. For them, the outlook is less certain, while for some, such as the recently bankrupt Hirsnall in the Scottish Borders, the game is up. It is not an easy life being in a golf club at the moment, says Christopher Spencer of the Scottish Golf and Club Managers Association. Members do not necessarily understand their club is probably more susceptible to cost increases than you are at home, the prime example being wages. There are a lot of staff who will be on the minimum wage. If that's gone up by 10% in a year, purely to cover that cost, you have to reduce the service you are providing, which invariably leads to a number of complaints, or you're going to have to put your subscriptions up by that 10% to cover it. Industry veteran Kevin Fish of CCL Services says that the pandemic boom that arrested 2 decades of decline in club memberships is now coming off the boil, and with that many private members' clubs have gone back to the pre-COVID days of hanging on by their fingertips. And he continued, it's actually the clubs in the middle tier who are under the most pressure, and that's the same in most businesses. Either be the best or the cheapest, but the ones in the middle are struggling. It just so happens that in Glasgow, there are more middle-tier clubs than there are in any other part of Scotland. So there's going to be an extra spotlight on the middle tier in Glasgow. And I can assure you that the accounts I have seen, the typical club is not making enough surplus to replace the assets when they diminish. What you find is they are just about breaking even or just about making a profit. But when the clubhouse roof blows off, there has been no preparation. That's where clubs realise for decades they have not been doing enough to safeguard their future. They've always kicked the can down the road for the next committee. That's where the big problem is. Report by Christy Dorsey. Evening Times Sport, November 8. Business as usual as Callaway ponders future of Topgolf. Report by Christy Dorsey. The nets of Topgolf, located in Rutherglen on the outskirts of Glasgow, have towered some 150 feet above the nearby M74 since the international sports entertainment chain opened its first venue in Scotland in December 2022. Headquartered in Dallas, Texas, Topgolf International acquired Topgolf UK in 2009. In October 2020, the Callaway Golf Company, a 14% shareholder in Topgolf, announced that it would acquire the whole of the business for approximately $2 billion, £1.5 billion. The deal was completed in March 2021, with the business changing its name to Topgolf Callaway Brands to reflect the merger. Earlier this year, Chip Brewer, Chief Executive of Callaway, confirmed that various options are now being considered for Topgolf, including a possible spin-off of the operation. Simon Green, Director of Operations at Topgolf Glasgow, has spoken this week to Around the Greens about what's in store at the city's largest golfing venue. And he's pointed out, Topgolf was founded with the aim to combine golf with entertainment, to create an inclusive and fun experience for everyone, regardless of skill level. The first Topgolf venue opened in 2000 in Watford near London, and there are now more than 110 venues globally. We plan to open Topgolf venues across the UK. Scotland has such a rich history in golf, and we have wanted to bring Topgolf here for some time. Glasgow is a vibrant city that knows how to party just like we do, and we were delighted to open our flagship venue here. Topgolf Glasgow offers something for everyone, whether you are a seasoned golfer or looking for a fun time with family and friends. The game experience, which uses top tracer technology and microchipped golf balls to track every shot, includes a range of games from classic Topgolf, virtual courses like St Andrews, and family-friendly games like Angry Birds and Block Party. We are excited to add our Sonic the Hedgehog game, developed in collaboration with Sega. What makes our experience unique is our playmakers, the term we use for our staff. They share our passion and enthusiasm for delivering the best possible experience. Our dedicated teams provide world-class hospitality And for players looking to up their game, we offer lessons through our PGA certified professional. Beyond the games, we put a lot of emphasis on our food and beverage. Our menus are American-inspired with a local twist, and we have a wide range of hospitality options, including our rooftop terrace bar and full-service restaurant. There are also more than 100 televisions showing live sports throughout the venue, including in every single bay, meaning our players can play top golf whilst watching their favourite team. Our third-floor event space accommodates up to 120 people and is ideal for corporate meetings and social gatherings, with opportunities to incorporate fun team-building activities at the tee line afterwards. We welcome up to 1,800 visitors daily during peak times and anticipate more than 400,000 visits in 2025. Topgolf caters to all skill levels with features like our specially developed club, the Sure Thing, which has been designed with a large pace and added loft for beginners. It's perfect for those looking to build confidence and hit great drives from the spa. It's very much business as usual. There are no changes to the day-to-day operations of Topgolf, and we remain focused on delivering a fun experience to our players. We are looking forward to 2025. Next year is shaping up to be an exciting one for us. We are already preparing for our annual Super Bowl party in February, which was a huge success last year. We are also adding new games, which are exclusive to Topgolf, and we will continue to develop programs and experiences that our players will keep coming back for. Whilst I have been with Topgolf for 8 years, I wouldn't call myself a golfer. My best score on the course is around 100. But that's the beauty of golf. Anyone can play. Size, strength, age and gender doesn't matter. And Topgolf brings people together to enjoy the game in a fun and relaxed atmosphere. Report by Christy Dorsey. Evening Times Sport, November 8. Greeks hail Rangers' dominance. Report by Stuart Wilson. Rangers staged a well-earned comeback against Olympiacos in the UEFA Europa League last night, after which Greek media has heaped praise on the Ibrox side. After a sticky first period, Ayoub El Kabi fired the home side in front on 56 minutes, before Cyril Dessers restored parity on the scoreboard 8 minutes later. Now, halfway through the new-look competition's 8 fixtures, Philippe Clement's men sit in a respectable 10th place, just 2 places and, at the moment, 2 points away from the automatically qualifying top 8. In the aftermath of the match, Gazeta Greece praised Rangers' tactical discipline, describing the visitors as organised in their defensive structure, which in turn limited Olympiacos' attacking opportunities. The publication also highlighted Rangers' scope to disrupt Olympiacos' rhythm through effective pressing and midfield dominance, and likewise hailed their resilience and adaptability, particularly their swift response in equalising after conceding. All told, the Gazeta Greece report was impressed with Rangers' game management, securing a point that puts them well on their way towards progressing further into the tournament with 4 league phase games remaining. In his instant analysis after the full-time whistle, Joshua Barry offered a brief assessment of the earlier stages of the game and said, "The return of Robin Prepper, may not have been a universally popular choice amongst supporters, but it was not a huge surprise from Clement. There are concerns over how well equipped the Dutchman is to handle the tough, tumble nature of Scottish football, but the return to European action offered Proper a chance to play himself back into form. At half-time it was a case of so far so good, and it could be viewed as a typical away day performance. Rangers were relatively untroubled in the first 45 minutes, and captain for the night Jack Butland had little to do. There were moments where Clement's side were loose in possession, but they were not punished, with a Gelson Martins effort that was fired into the near post, one of the few transition phrases looked threatening in. 10 minutes after the restart, the hosts had the breakthrough as El Kaabi scored for the fourth time in as many matches in this competition. The Rangers' defence was sucked towards a dinked ball over the top, and John Souttar left El Kaabi free in space to meet a clinical header. The finish from inside the area was clinical and accomplished, but a rare moment of quality from the Greeks. Meanwhile, Ali McCoist has pinpointed Rangers' key problem that Clement needs to fix. Speaking to sports betting site TalkSport Bet, McCoy said, "I think Philippe Clement has to be given the chance to turn the situation at Rangers around. There is absolutely no point in making changes just for the sake of it. That said, the lack of consistency in Rangers' performance has been incredible. Celtic drew with Aberdeen the other week, and the Rangers fan base went down to Kilmarnock expecting their team to close the gap. The team then put in a performance that was unacceptable and lost the game. That's been the key problem, the inconsistency. I watched them against Malmo and FCSB, and they were excellent in both games, but you just don't know what you're going to get from them at the moment." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, November 8. German football legend slams Leipzig for losing easier Celtic game. Report by Mark Walker. German football hero Andreas Möller has heavily criticised RB Leipzig for losing an easier game against Celtic in the Champions League, and he reckons they have no chance of qualifying now. Celtic stunned the Bundesliga second-place team this week with a brilliant win at Parkhead to claim their second home win in a row, but Leipzig have been slaughtered in their homeland after collecting 0 points from their 4 games so far. Leading the charge was former Juventus star Möller, who won the World Cup and European Championships with Germany, as well as the Champions League with Borussia Dortmund. And he said, "It is rather embarrassing for the second-place club in the Bundesliga to be where they are after 4 games. The chances of progressing are now minimal for Leipzig. There is a huge gap between their own expectations and reality. RB Leipzig are now under more pressure than ever. To reach the playoffs, they will probably need 3 wins in the remaining 4 games. To be fair to them, they got a hard draw because they had to play top opponents like Atletico Madrid, Juventus and Liverpool, and still have to play Inter Milan, Aston Villa and Sporting Lisbon. However, Leipzig cannot complain if they do not even win the supposedly easier games like against Celtic." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, November 8. Rangers' next Europa League opponent, Bills clash as must-win. Report by Mark Walker. Nice boss Frank Hayes has labelled their Europa League showdown against Rangers this month a must-win game if they want to progress in the tournament. Rangers sit in a respectable 10th place in the New Look tournament and have high hopes of finishing in the top 8, which would get them automatic qualification for the round of 16. Nice battled back from going 2-0 down to 20 in Sheddy, with former Rangers flop Sam Lammers netting for the Dutch side to rescue a point. However, they have yet to win a match in their 4 games so far and sit in 31st place out of the 36 teams. And manager Hayes knows they must beat Rangers to have any chance of making the top 24 and the playoffs. He said, "It is very clear, if we want to continue our progress in this competition, we must win our next game against Rangers at home. That game will be decisive, along with our last game of the year against Union Saint-Gilloise. We have to win, because we have not managed to do that after 4 games. We can say that we managed to be resilient, and the 2-2 draw is good because it looked unlikely at one stage. But I cannot ignore the first hour against 20, because we were not at the required level. We lost 2 players late on to injury, and that had an impact, but I have to take responsibility for not winning a game yet." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, November 8. Rangers retro goalkeeper shirt not for sale. Report by David Irvin. A retro goalkeeper kit promoted in Rangers' launch of their 125 Heritage Collection will not be for sale, despite being advertised, according to a report. It has been claimed the shirt, modelled by Jack Butland in single and group promotional images, will not be stocked by Rangers for retail purposes. Rangers have announced the kit, which is a tribute to the 125 years at Ibrox, will be worn by the first team in December. However, while supporters can purchase the retro shirt for outfield players, the goalkeeper kit is not visible on the club shop website. The outfield long sleeve shirt has already sold out on Rangers' site, but the short sleeve version is still listed as available to purchase for £75. Women's and junior sizes are also still available, but there is no avenue for the goalkeeper kit to be purchased, with 4 lads had a dream revealing the retail stance on the shirt. A post by the Heart and Hand Rangers podcast read, "Is it just me being thick, or is the goalie's top not on sale?" Citing a response from Castor, 4 lads had a dream posted. Answer: Rangers have said that sadly they won't be retailing the goalkeeper kit. Evening Times Sport, November 11. Hearts boss explains players' fury in Rangers' loss. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Neil Critchley has revealed the reason for the Hearts players' angry reaction to the final whistle in their narrow defeat to Rangers at Ibrox yesterday, and admitted he was unhappy with the injury time which was added on at the end of the match. The Tynecastle club competed well with their hosts throughout the William Hill Premiership encounter, and were unfortunate to be on the receiving end of a 1-0 loss at the end of the 90 minutes. Craig Gordon and his teammates protested to referee Matthew McDermott when the match was finished because they felt that Kieran Dowell had handled a Blair Spittle shot. The incident occurred at the edge of the Rangers penalty box, and the Hearts players appealed to McDermott for a spot kick and a VAR check. Television replays showed that Dowell had been just outside the area, but Critchley felt the visitors could have been awarded a free kick. Gordon, Lawrence Shankland and Frankie Kent were incensed that McDermott brought an end to proceedings and surrounded the match official to vent their frustration. Said Critchley, "I've not seen it back yet, and I don't know if it was in the box or not in the box. I don't know. Maybe we would have got a free kick. We were pushing right to the end. The players gave everything. They went right to the end. We were nearly there. Something nearly dropped for us. We just needed that little bit of luck. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. We've probably not had that in the last couple of games." I thought the injury time which was added on should have been longer than 3 minutes. We had 7 minutes at St Johnstone last week, and I don't remember the physios coming on or anything. 3 minutes? I don't know where that's come from. It should have been longer in my opinion. We didn't just sit back and sit on the ropes for 12 rounds. We wanted to play on the front foot and try and dominate the game. I thought we contributed to a good game of football. We pushed them right back, and that's how we train. Well, that's our belief every day, and our mentality. I don't want to be a nearly team. I don't want that feeling. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, November 11. Motherwell Football Club open memorial garden for fans near Fir Park. Report by Claire Lindsay. A memorial garden has been opened at Motherwell Football Club after the hard work of volunteers and local businesses. The club and the Well Society officially opened the garden after months of dedication. Located near Fir Park, the garden provides fans with a quiet space for reflection and remembrance of loved ones. Supporters are also given the option to inter ashes and hold short services to honour a loved one's passing. The transformation of the previously named Reading Garden began earlier this year after a relative of a fan whose ashes were scattered there reached out for help with the overgrown area. Brian Caldwell, Motherwell Football Club Chief Executive, said, "We know how much the club means to our fans. This combined effort ensures we can provide our community with a space where they can feel connected to the club and to their loved ones." The project was made possible by a grant from North Lanarkshire Council's Recover NL Fund, as well as support from building and gardening suppliers. The once untidy patch of land is now a well-defined memorial garden. Sally Hall, development manager at the Well Society, said, "Football provides so many memorable moments, often in the company of family and friends. When they've passed, it's nice to remember the good times, and we are proud to be able to restore this space so fans can do just that. We are indebted not only to North Lanarkshire Council, local businesses and the ground staff here at the club, but to a large number of Well Society members who gave up their time to help. Special mention must go to Jim Wright and John Lowry for their time, advice and building expertise, and to Tom, John and Billy from Kaluk Men's Shed, who were also integral to the project. Provost Kenneth Duffy said, It is wonderful to see the Memorial Garden at Fir Park revitalised using the Recover NL grant, and for it to become a peaceful community space where people can spend time for remembrance and reflection. He officially opened the garden by cutting the ribbon. The club plans a rededication event for families next spring, when the garden will be in full bloom. Report by Claire Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, November 11. Trusty living the dream at Celtic. Report by Matthew Lindsay. There was never any chance of the ankle injury which Celtic centre-half Austin Trusty suffered early on in the Champions League match against RB Leipzig last Tuesday night, forcing him to leave the field. The United States international might have come on towards the end of the opening league phase match against Slovan Bratislava in September, and may have been involved for the full 90 minutes in the subsequent encounter against Borussia Dortmund in Germany and Atalanta in Italy last month. However, the meeting with the Bundesliga giants last midweek was the first time the United States international had started in a big European game at Parkhead, and he was determined to savour it to the full. It was, after all, the realisation of a lifelong dream. Said Trusty, I rolled my ankle pretty bad, and I was hurting for the rest of the game. Just the atmosphere got me through. You play for these nights, live for these nights. I was once a little kid in my bedroom dreaming of playing in that environment, so I wasn't going to let a little ankle sprain bring me down. It was amazing. When I was coming here, I heard the stories. My debut was in the Champions League, but I only played a certain amount of minutes. So to start the game and just be in that environment and have that mindset, it was a dream come true. It was really, actually amazing. Indeed it was. The William Hill Premiership leaders produced what has been described by some commentators as their best European display this century on Tuesday night. They were rock solid at the back, dominant in midfield and full of flair up front. They ran out comfortable 3-1 winners against opponents who were in second place in the Bundesliga. Trusty was outstanding at the back for the Scottish champions. It was a far cry from the 7-1 mauling which he and his teammates suffered at the hands of last season's beaten finalist Dortmund 4 and a bit weeks earlier. So did he ever have any doubts that he would bounce back from that humiliation? No, none whatsoever, he said. I'm confident, and I know I joined a confident team. Sometimes, unfortunately, football is like that. That day Dortmund didn't miss at all. Everything went their way. Being on the other side of that, it sucks, but it's football. You kind of have to accept it and move on. There are always more opportunities, so you live with it, you learn it, and you can only move forward. The games come quick and fast here, said the former Sheffield United man. It's hard, but it's also a blessing. You have such big and important games, and you're playing for such an historic and important club. In every game you just want to give your all and give your best. I think the gaffer and the coaching staff do not allow us to treat any game differently. I think we prepare for a Champions League match or a league match the same way, in the same intensity. At the end of the day, we as a team have to create our own environment. Some teams that we do play are not going to create that environment of a Champions League night at the top European level. So we have to bring it ourselves. We have to train with a certain mentality and then treat every game the same way. Trusty finally, 5 years after first receiving a call-up to the senior squad, made his debut for the United States team last year. He played in a CONCACAF Nations League match against Grenada and helped his country to a 7-1 win. He has remained involved since and won another 2 caps. The 26-year-old is hopeful that challenging for trophies domestically with Celtic and playing against the cream of the continent will help his cause with his country, who take on Jamaica in a 2-leg Nations League quarter-final during the international break. And he said, "The exposure you get playing for a big club like Celtic only helps anybody's situation. You always want to play in the best competitions, play for the best teams in the world. So I think it only helps the situation in that respect." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, November 11. Matthew Lindsay says young Scots' European exploits bode well for World Cup qualifying bid. If the success of a team is dependent on the strengths, experience and personalities of its individual members, then the Western world can look forward to a safe and prosperous future. Donald Trump, the first convicted criminal to be elected President of the United States, and also at the grand old age of 78, the oldest, has assembled quite a lineup around him in recent months. WWF icon Hulk Hogan, incarcerated Tiger King star Joe Exotic, one-time Olympic decathlon champion Caitlyn, formerly Bruce Jenner, adult film actress Rochelle Ryan, nutty SpaceX, Tesla and ex-billionaire Elon Musk, Ache Breaky Heart country singer Billy Ray Cyrus, and LIV golf defector Bryson the Scientist DeChambeau are all battling for him. Not since Brazil travelled to Mexico for the World Cup in 1970 has such a glittering array of talent been seen. With tensions in the Middle East on a knife edge, the war between Russia and Ukraine continuing to rage, United States relations with China at a critical juncture, and the planet facing unprecedented environmental challenges, what can possibly go wrong? It is to be hoped that the players who Steve Clarke has drafted in for the final Nations League double-header against Croatia at Hampden on Friday evening and Poland in Warsaw on Monday of next week do possess the skills and sparks needed to resurrect Scotland's fortunes. Clarke has not exactly had his troubles to seek on the injury front since the national team has returned to action this season. He is still without Lewis Ferguson, Angus Gunn, Aaron Hickey, Nathan Patterson and Kieran Tierney. But he has been able to name Tommy Conway, Jack Henry, John McGinn and Scott McKenna in his 25-man squad for the forthcoming fixtures. Can that quartet help the country end their 10-match winless run in competitive matches and avoid relegation from the A-League of the competition? It is a big ask given the quality of the opposition they will once again face. Still, their presence will be most welcome. Andy Robertson and his teammates have, despite the narrow defeats they have suffered, at the hands of Poland, Portugal and Croatia looked far more like the Scotland which beat Cyprus, Spain, Norway and Georgia and qualified for the Euro 2024 finals. Maybe the increased options the manager has in defence, midfield and attack will provide a cutting edge. Clark balked at suggestions that dropping down to the B League, where they would be pitted against lesser international rivals than they have during the past 3 months, might not be the worst thing ever. He is keen to end this campaign on a high and remain among the international elite. He also wants Scotland to record morale-boosting wins and build up some much-needed momentum before World Cup qualifying gets underway. The opening game is, unless our brave boys finish second in their section and make it through to the Nations League quarter-finals in March. Right back remains despite the assured showing of Anthony Ralston of Celtic in the goalless draw with Portugal at Hampden last month, and the impact that Nicky Devlin of Aberdeen made after coming on in that encounter, an area of concern. Brentford defender Hickey, who is expecting to be out for most of the 24-25 season, and Patterson, who has returned to training at Everton, continue to be sorely missed. But could Max Johnson emerge as an option in that problem position by the time the bid to reach Canada, Mexico and the United States is up and running? The former Motherwell kid started for Sturm Graz in their Champions League phase match against Borussia Dortmund last Tuesday night and helped the Austrian outfit repel the German hosts during the hour he was on the park. That was not something which Celtic were able to say when they played at the world-famous arena last month. The 20-year-old, who was called into the senior national set-up in October, found himself up against Julian Brandt in North Rhine-Westphalia. He also kept Nuno Santos at bay after he took to the field against Sporting Lisbon last month. He will have benefited enormously from being exposed to that calibre of footballer at that level. Elsewhere, it was heartening to see Ferguson continue his comeback from a serious knee injury in Europe's Premier Club competition last midweek. The Serie A midfielder of the year came on towards the end of Bologna's narrow defeat to Monaco in Italy. Beating Croatia at home and Poland away, and staying in the A-League will be, even with a few bodies back, some going by Scotland. But Che Adams, Ryan Christie, Billy Gilmour, Grant Hanley, McGinn, Scott McTominay and Robertson, mainstays who all underperformed at the Euros, are all looking far more like their old selves. Ben Doak, Ryan Gauld, Lewis Morgan and Tommy Conway have shown they are not at all fazed by the step-up, and others are pushing hard for inclusion. Could Connor Barron feature in the coming days? It will be no surprise if he is handed game time, given how well he has been playing for Rangers. He was brilliant against Conference League winners Olympiacos last Thursday night. Suddenly, the long-term future of the country is looking a little brighter. The same cannot, alas, be said in America, says Matthew Lindsay.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service